Friday, 5 p.m. Jerusalem time from NBC Studios. This is NBC Journal with Bassam Zahir and Sana Abu Samra.
France regrets Israel's withholding of Palestinian tax revenues.
For the first time since 2003, Palestinians into Bab al-Rahma section of Al-Aqsa Mosque.
Israeli occupation forces attack rally commemorating Hebron Mosque massacre.
Hello and welcome again. Yusuf al-Daya, 15, who was shot dead by Israeli occupation forces last Friday during the Gaza March of Return border protests, was laid to rest on Saturday in Gaza City. Hundreds of Palestinians took part in the funeral procession of al-Daya, and over 41 participants in the protests on Friday also suffered various kinds of injuries from bullets and tear gas fired by ISO stationed on the Israeli side of the fence.
Israeli occupation forces arrested former Palestinian hunger striker Khader Adnan in pre-dawn raids earlier this week. In Araba town, southwest of Jenin, IOF detained two former prisoners identified as Khader Adnan and Tariq Adan. Adnan has spent a number of lengthy spells in Israeli military detention and conducted 4 hunger strikes in 2004. According to the Times of Israel, Israel's security services Shin Bet acknowledged the detention of Adnan and Qadan, who were described as senior members of Palestinian Islamic Jihad. The Shin Bet said 2 men were arrested for their activities with the Palestinian Islamic Jihad without elaborating on the nature of the suspicions against them.
Last Friday, hundreds of Palestinian worshippers entered Bab al-Rahma area inside Al-Aqsa Mosque compound in Jerusalem's Old City for the first time since the area was completely closed to Muslim worshipping by Israeli authorities in 2003. The worshippers, led by the Grand Mufti of Jerusalem, Sheikh Mohammed Hussein, and other religious leaders, forced their way into the area ahead of the weekly Friday prayer, defying the Israeli ban of Muslim worshipping in the area. The worshippers chanted religious and national slogans and mounted the flag of Palestine to show delight at the reopening of the area, which has only been opened during the past 16 years to Jewish fanatics during provocative visits to the Muslim holy place, the third holiest site in Islam.
Israeli professors Nader Shalhoub Kavokian revealed that the Israeli occupation authorities issues permits to large pharmaceutical firms to carry out tests on Palestinians and Arab prisoners. The Hebrew University lecturer also revealed that Israeli military firms are testing weapons on Palestinian children and carry out these tests in Palestinian neighborhoods of occupied Jerusalem. Last week, Israeli authorities refused to hand over the body of Faris Bar'oud, who was passed away inside Israeli prisons after suffering from a number of diseases. His family fear that it could have been used for such tests, and Israel is afraid this could be revealed through forensic investigations.
On Saturday evening, a number of Jewish settlers attacked a private Palestinian vehicle with stones near the village of Hawara, south of Nablus in the occupied West Bank. Mohammed Sawafta told official sources that Jewish settlers attacked his vehicle while driving near the village. The vehicle, he said, sustained serious damages as a result of the attack, but was not himself injured. Sawafta added that the attack occurred in full sight of Israeli soldiers who did nothing to prevent the attack. Israeli settler violence against Palestinians and their property is commonplace in the West Bank and is rarely persecuted by Israeli authorities.
Israeli authorities banned a Palestinian who was released Sunday after spending 17 years in Israeli jails from entering his hometown, the occupied East Jerusalem neighborhood of Al-Isawiyah, for a period of 10 days. Jerusalemite resident Abdurrahman Mahmoud was detained for a few hours after his release from Israeli jails, where he served a 17-year sentence.
Israeli occupation forces shot and injured a Palestinian youth on Saturday evening from Al-Arub refugee camp in the southern occupied West Bank district of Hebron. According to medical sources, an 18-year-old Palestinian whose identity remained unknown was shot and injured in his foot with a rubber-coated steel bullet fired by Israeli occupation forces. A Palestinian teacher was shot and injured by Israeli forces on Saturday during raids of the Al-Isawiyah neighborhood in occupied East Jerusalem. Mohammed Abu al-Hummus, member of a local follow-up committee, said that Israeli occupation forces raided the neighborhood as Palestinian students and teachers made their way back home from school. Abu al-Hummus announced that one teacher was shot and injured in her hand after Israeli forces repeatedly fired rubber-coated steel bullets and stun grenades across Al-Isawiyah. The teacher was transferred to a hospital for medical treatment, and her medical condition remained unknown.
On Saturday, President Mahmoud Abbas delivered a letter to his Russian counterpart, Vladimir Putin, according to Fatah official Azzam al-Ahmad. Al-Ahmad, a member of Fatah Central Committee and the Executive Committee of the Palestinian Liberation Organization, received at his Ramallah office Russia's ambassador to Palestine, Haydar Aghninin, and gave the letter from Abbas to Putin. In a statement, Al-Ahmad noted the letter concerns the latest developments as well as the Israeli government's cuts from Palestinian tax revenues in violation of the Paris Economic Protocols signed between the Palestinians and Israel. Abbas also thanked Russia in the letter for his efforts to bring the Palestinian factions together and end the division between them, particularly their latest meeting held in Moscow.
Mohammed Frihat from the town of Yamoun, west of the northern West Bank city of Jenin, entered on Saturday his 19th year behind bars in Israeli jails, making him the second longest serving Palestinian political prisoner from the Jenin area, according to the Prisoner Society. Frihat, who was arrested in Ramallah during the Israeli invasion of the city in 2000, was sentenced to 23 years in prison for resisting the Israeli occupation, said Muntasir Samour, director of the Jenin office of the Prisoner Society. He said Frihat was denied family visits for a long time and was often put in solitary confinement for long periods as a punishment. He also has serious health issues.
Israeli police detained senior Fatah member Nasser Kaus after raiding his home inside the old city of Jerusalem. According to local sources, Kaus led the effort to reopen the gate to Bab al-Rahma building inside Al-Aqsa mosque compound where thousands of Palestinians performed the Friday Muslim prayer inside it after it was closed at police order for 16 years. Police arrested more than 60 Palestinians in occupied Jerusalem over the past few days, most of them Fatah activists, for defying Israeli police orders and reopening Bab al-Rahma building for Muslim prayers.
Palestinian citizens of Jerusalem have been able to open Bab al-Rahma, which was closed since 2003, which led to the Israeli escalation against Jerusalem. Over 100 Palestinians were arrested during large-scale raids across East Jerusalem in the past week, according to the Palestinian Prisoners' Affairs. Among the Palestinians who were arrested by the Israeli occupation forces, the head of Al-Awqaf Council in Jerusalem, Sheikh Abdul Azim Salhab, and Deputy Director General of Islamic Endowments Department, Najah Bekerat. The Israeli court issued administrative deportation orders against them for 7 days. They also arrested the Jerusalem Governor Adnan Ghait. Subsequent condemnations and denunciation were taken toward this serious escalation. The Secretary General of PLO Executive Committee, Sa'ib Arakat, condemned the arresting of Palestinians in Jerusalem and called for the immediate release of the detainees. The Minister of Awqaf and Islamic Affairs in Jordan, Abdel Nasser Abu Basal, condemned the Israeli occupation forces' violations, considering them a dangerous escalation and unacceptable at all. saying that their action is an abuse of Jordanian role in carrying the holy sites in Jerusalem. The escalation comes within the framework of the occupation efforts to change the status quo in Jerusalem and the Judaization there. But there is much evidence of Palestinian resistance and their rejection of all plans of occupation against the capital of Palestine, Jerusalem. Hanim Bakr, NBC.
For the second time in a week, Israeli settlers attacked with stones Arif Secondary School south of the northern West Bank city of Nablus, and soldiers joined in the attack, according to Adel Amir from the Arif Village Council. He said that a group of settlers threw rocks at the school shortly after classes were over, while soldiers fired tear gas and rubber bullets at the students as they were leaving the school. This is the second time in 1 week settlers attack Arif School. The Israeli settlers also attacked homes in the area, leading to confrontations with the local residents.
Israeli military police Friday overnight detained over 40 Palestinians during large-scale raids across East Jerusalem, said the Palestinian Prisoners' Affairs in a press release. IOF conducted multiple extensive raids across East Jerusalem, detaining over 40 Palestinians, mostly identified as members of Fatah movement, and summoning 7 others.
Israeli occupation forces prevented Palestinians from farming their lands in Jalud village, south of Nablus, in the north of the West Bank, said a local official. Ghassan Douglas, an official who monitors settlement activities in the northern West Bank, said that Israeli occupation forces prevented farmers of Jalud from cultivating their own lands located within Area B, which is administrated by the Palestinian Authority but under Israeli security and adjacent to an illegal settlement outpost. Israeli forces and settlers from the settlement outposts of Yesh Kodesh, besides Adi Ad settlement, have regularly attacked Palestinians from nearby villages, including Jalud, targeting their farmlands. Many of the attacks are intended to make life difficult for Palestinian villagers, to force them to leave and allow settlers to expand their settlements.
On Friday, Israeli occupation forces attacked a non-violent rally in the heart of Hebron which commemorated the 25th anniversary of the Ibrahim Mosque massacre, injuring at least 1 child by rubber-coated bullets and causing others to suffocate from tear gas inhalation. The rally also called on Israeli occupation authorities to reopen the Shuhada Street in the heart of the cities, and it also called for a complete withdrawal of law and settlers from the city. On February 25, 1994, an Israeli settler identified as Baruch Goldstein opened fire at Muslims observing dawn prayers inside Al-Ibrahimi Mosque in Hebron on a Ramadan morning, killing 29 worshippers and injuring 150 others before being caught and killed by the crowds.
Palestinian detainee in Israeli jails Mohammed Shawish, 30 years old, who was scheduled to be released from Israeli jails on the 21st of February, was unexpectedly placed in administrative detention without a charge or trial for more than 6 months, according to the Jerusalem Prisoners Committee. Shawish, who comes from occupied Jerusalem, has spent 7 years in Israeli detention, was surprised by an Israeli Prime Minister's order placing him in jail for 6 more months. Israel's widely condemned policy of administrative detention allows detention of Palestinians without charge or trial for the renewable intervals, usually ranging between 3 and 6 months, based on undisclosed evidence that even a detainee's lawyer is barred from viewing.
At least 30 Palestinian children suffered from suffocation, one of them reported in critical condition, after IOF and settlers attacked their elementary school in the old town in the city of Hebron, south of the occupied West Bank. Medics at the school clinic told Wafa that Israeli soldiers fired tear gas canisters towards students while they were at the schoolyard, resulting in a large number of suffocation cases, including one was rushed to hospital in critical condition. According to the Hebron Elementary School principal, a number of settlers took part in the attack on the school alongside the soldiers, including one identified as Ofer and known for his extremist and racist views against the Palestinians. Israeli occupation forces attacks against Palestinians in the old town of Hebron, most of it under Israeli army control, have increased since the International Civilian Monitoring Team, the temporary international presence in Hebron, has left the city earlier this month after Israel has refused to extend its mandate after 22 years of service in the divided city.
President Mahmoud Abbas participated in the first Arab-European summit. At the Presidential Hall at Sharm el-Sheikh International Airport, the president was received by the Egyptian Minister of Local Development, Major General Mahmoud Sharawi, and the Ambassador of Palestine to Egypt and its permanent representative to the Arab League, Diab al-Loh. Secretary of the Executive Committee of the PLO, Saeb Ariqat, Minister of Foreign Affairs and Expatriates, Riyad al-Malki, and advisor to the President for Diplomatic Affairs, Majdi Al-Khalidi are accompanying the president in the official visit. Starting on Sunday, leaders and government heads of 28 European countries and 21 Arab states were convening a two-day summit in Sharm el-Sheikh discussing joint challenges and boost mutual cooperation opportunities. This is the first ever platform that brings together the Arab and European heads of state and government to tackle the pressing issues, atop of which terrorism, organized crime and illegal immigration.
Last Friday, France expressed its regret over the Israeli government's decision withholding around $138 million in tax revenue collected on behalf of the Palestinian Authority under the Oslo Agreement. The French foreign minister said in a statement that it was concerned about the worsening financial situation of the PA and called on Israel to honor its obligation under the Oslo Accords, particularly the Paris Economic Protocol governing economic and financial relations between Israel and the PA. In light of the prevailing unrest, everyone must refrain from taking any action that may make it more difficult to resume dialogue between the parties, read the statement. Under the interim Paris Economic Protocol of 1994, Israel collects customs duties on goods imported by the Palestinians that are destined to the occupied Palestinian territories, which go through Israeli ports since the Palestinian borders are all under Israeli control. And now moving on to the Najah National University news.
An-Najah National University has been shortlisted for the Teaching and Learning Strategy of the Year at the 2019 Times Higher Education Awards, known as the Oscars for Higher Education. The university is one of 8 submissions shortlisted in this category and the only university in the Arab world to be shortlisted at this prestigious award. An-Najah University has joined the competition in the framework of the Erasmus Plus Capacity Building Project, transforming assessment practices in large enrollment first-year education TAP Palestine. The project aims to enhance capacity building of Palestine higher education institutions in modern assessment practices in first-year educators. An-Najah is leading this project on behalf of 5 Palestinian and 3 European universities. The shortlisting is in recognition of the teaching and learning strategy that is distinctive and innovative and reflects an institution's core values according to the judging criteria.
An-Najah signs Memorandum of Understanding with the International University of La Rioja in Spain. On Wednesday, February 20th, An-Najah National University at the UNIR signed a Memorandum of Understanding on research cooperation and expertise exchange between both universities in the fields of technology and electronic training. The representatives were Professor Maher Netche, Acting President of An-Najah, Dr. Saeed Afoni, Dean of the Facility of Educational Science and Teachers Training and Director of the E-Learning Center, and Professor Daniel Burgos, Vice Chancellor for Knowledge and Transfer and Technology in the UNIR. Professor Netche thanked the guest for his visit and expressed hope they will establish cooperation in many joint research and programs. He also mentioned that despite the difficult political situations Palestine is going through, An-Najah was able to progress in terms of international academic rankings. In turn, Professor Burgos thanked Professor Netche for his hospitality and discussed possible means of mutual cooperation between the 2 universities, noting that UNIR pays particular attention to research.
These are the news of the week. Thank you for watching. For more details, visit our website nn.ps.
See you next Friday.